Hello and welcome to another video. Today, yes, we are going to be looking at Am I the A-hole again, Japanese edition, because it was honestly a lot of fun to make the first video. So let's see what today has in store for us. Roll the intro. Am I the a-hole for asking a student to not use anime voice in my classroom? I am biased, so I'm just going to say no, but let's look into the story. Let's make a proper judgment. I'm 28, non-binary, and a new professor at an art college. I teach core classes about politics, sociology, and anthropology. Most teaching evals, feedback from my dean and chair, and students' feedback give me high ratings in creating a safe environment for discussion. Students say I do a good job relating to students from different views, backgrounds, and expressions. Okay, this already sounds like I would love to be friends with OP, not gonna lie, so I might be biased. This is something I take seriously, especially as one of the only that I know of out non-binary professors at the college. I also take it seriously as someone who firmly believes in the integrity of the classroom and empowering students to have hard discussions. Nice, okay. I make it a point to never complain about students. OP is so sweet. Even when they say something transphobic, I politely encourage them to learn, and I'm rated as pretty gentle about getting them to think another way. Recently, I had one of my most uncomfortable teaching experiences, which seems silly. I had a student who is not from Japan, never spent time in Japan, but loves anime, and uses a hypersexual, over-exaggerated baby-like voice known as anime voice. Oh boy, okay. This is annoying because I know exactly what kind of voice OP is talking about. Most of my viewers here, I think most of you watching, know exactly the kind of voice that OP is talking about. The reason I say it's annoying is because, as you can imagine, Japanese people, normal Japanese people, IRL Japanese people, do not talk like that. When people speak, they just use normal voices. So why would they use a, and I quote, hypersexual, over-exaggerated, baby-like voice? No one speaks like that. So I'm kind of worried about what kind of image the student has of Japan. She took on what she perceives as a Japanese name and just really acted overexcited, over the top constantly. For those of you who know me, you will know that I get very, very annoyed when weeps, because let's be real, sounds to me like the student is a weep. They use a name, they use a culture that doesn't belong to them and appropriate it. This is literally cultural appropriation, and I have talked about this in this video up here, so if you're interested, please have a look after watching this video. You cannot just use a name of a culture that doesn't belong to you and put it on and use it as if it's a mask, as if it's a disguise, because you want to present a persona that is not real, that you perceive as cool because it's a culture that you like from the outside, that doesn't belong to you. Being Japanese is not a mask. It's not doing cosplay. You cannot cosplay as being Japanese. Being Japanese is real. You either are Japanese or you're not. You either have ties to Japan or you don't. You either have Japanese ancestry or you don't. You either live here and you have connections here or you don't. And anime is not a connection. It's a gateway, but it's not a connection. If you are a weeb, come to Japan. Come to Japan and form those connections, but make them real. I got so fired up already. Okay, there is no way that I'm not going to be biased with this story. Objectivity? Bye. As someone who has had women students from Japan, I felt like it was at least mildly racist and just cringe for everyone to listen. Yes, if the student just wanted to cosplay as a Japanese person without taking into account what it's like being a Japanese person, it's wrong. It's just wrong. I pulled her into a convo and tried to let her see how I at least saw it. And she has since retaliated, saying I don't respect the accents or names of students. This hurts. Admittedly, I'm a white professor, but this student is not Asian. Okay, we know that. I suspected she might be on the spectrum, so I tried to be gentle but firm. But as an autistic person, autism is not an excuse for inappropriate behavior. She reported me as an unsafe professor, which I feel like ruins it for the international students I teach, whose names I pronounce correctly, whose accents I support, and the LGBT plus students who get to have an out non-binary professor for the first time. Something that I will say about OP is that I'm not there. I don't know OP personally, I don't know the students of OP, but I do think it's a very big statement to say that they are able to pronounce things perfectly, that they are able to support all of the accents. It's a big statement. The admin is mostly white, and they kept asking, "Are you sure she isn't from Japan?" And I'm like, yes. 1, this is not how people from Japan talk. Thank you, OP. Thank you. 2, she did a project about where she is from, and she admitted to never spending time in Japan. As an anthropologist, I feel it's deeply irresponsible for her to use this voice, and since it's perceived as hypersexual, it made me super uncomfortable. I'm not sure how other students felt because I didn't want to give her any attention over it. The thing about the characters that anime has that use hypersexualized voice, they give the impression that Japanese women, that real Japanese women, are like that and they speak like that, and that is not the truth. And we see that they think like that because the student from OP apparently thinks like that. And so many weebs think like that. People have suggested I was too harsh, that people can take on the names and accents they want to. No, they cannot. Using names, using accents, that is a mockery. They are making a mockery of real life experiences and all the baggage that comes with it. That is not okay. And this is especially true for people who don't have a connection to Japan whatsoever. And anime is not a connection to Japan. Again, it's a gateway. It's not a connection. I'm getting so annoyed. Am I the a-hole here? Edit, she has audibly moaned a couple times. I'm sorry? What? The second time is when I pulled her aside before class, before many other students were there. I also have a class full of anime fans and people who love the subculture in the class. I'm also feminine, queer presenting, and assigned female at birth. So it made me uncomfortable how she would also compliment me in the voice or say how much she loved my dresses. Other students have complimented my fashion, but not like this. Something was off about it. So for me, OP is not the a-hole. If anything, the student is the a-hole, so And yes, it seems that Reddit agreed with me, which makes me very, very happy and honestly pretty relieved. Am I the a-hole for warning my friend that the guy she's dating has a fetish for Asian chicks? I'm not gonna lie and say that I like OP, even though I appreciate that he has warned the friend, but don't refer to women as chicks. We're women, we're human, we're not birds. I don't know, this is something that has personally always bothered me. Maybe it's just me. I don't think it's just me. I have these 2 friends who recently started dating, Mark and Alexis. Mark is a white guy and Alexis is Korean. I'm black, but that's not really relevant. I'm in separate friend groups with both of them. In my group with Mark, it's mostly guys, so we of course speak differently. I'm not really a fan of the speaking differently kind of excuse, just because it sounds a lot like the locker talk excuse, and I'm not a fan of that. Let's see what OP has to say. One of the things the group gives Mark shit for is that he has a thing for Asian chicks, again, and Asian, it's mostly Japanese culture. It's the kind of thing we joke with him about, but it's actually very weird. He has said multiple times that he wants to go to Japan and find himself a traditional Japanese What is going on? Does he think that Japanese women who are married, they're just gonna wait on their husbands and just cook food for them and just clean the house and be nice and submissive and docile, as if Japanese women weren't actual real people who have feelings and get very annoyed when people are condescending? That is, oh god, that is so cringe! Mark, you are so cringe! He has hiragana tattoos. Okay. Bro, that is the most basic of the alphabets. At least use a kanji. Jeez. What are you, 5? This was a joke. This is not meant to offend anyone who has hiragana tattoos. Tattoos are fine. You can you can do whatever you want with your body. I'm just making fun of Mark because apparently he's a very cringe person, and don't like him, so I'm making fun of him, but I should not make fun of him because he has a tattoo. So yeah, sorry about that. Is obsessed with Karen Fukuhara. I don't know who Karen Fukuhara is really into shit like that. I'm not a fan of the word shit like that in this context, but fine. That's fair, honestly. When he told us he was dating a new girl, I assumed it would be an Asian girl, but I didn't know it'd be Alexis. Because I'm so close with Alexis, I felt it would be a good move to at least warn her. I feel that a small mistake I made was warning her kinda publicly. I'll admit fault there, but the topic of Mark was up, and I just kinda said it. I said I'd be careful about him as he has a certain thing for Asian girls. I told her that Mark was a good guy, but he has weird interests in Asian women. OP, you mean well. I know you mean well, but your friend Mark doesn't sound like a good guy, if you know what I mean. If he has these obsessions with a person for their race, that is a fetish, and the fact that he wants Japanese women because he has this idea that they will be submissive to him is racist and cringy and honestly very, very misogynistic. So no, your friend Mark is not a good guy. So sorry about that. She kind of wrote it off to me, but then apparently she told him what I said. He was pissed at me. He said that what I told her was incredibly inappropriate and that I was just jealous that he's with her and I'm not. Alexis is also mad at me for trying to stick my nose in her relationship and trying to embarrass her in front of the rest of our friends. I mean, yes, definitely you should have talked to Alexis in a more private setting rather than in front of all of her friends. But it is still preferable that you told her in front of her friends than if you had not said anything at all, so I commend you for that. As an Asian woman who has been through that, who has dated guys who claimed they liked me but only liked the fact that I was Asian, I would have appreciated if someone had warned me. Maybe I wouldn't have been ready to hear that because you want to be liked for who you are, you want to be appreciated for yourself as a person rather than your race. I feel sorry that Alexis doesn't realize that he's trying to save her a lot of grief. Because we have to remember that OP knows what Mark is saying behind closed doors. So it is very unlikely that Alexis knows how he speaks about Asian women behind her back. I feel like this is really unfair, as I would appreciate it if someone told me that a girl I was seeing had a fetish for black men. Exactly. Am I the a-hole? No. I just really think that Alexis isn't ready to confront the idea that she's just being fetishized. And who knows? I mean, Mark might do a 180 and just really, really like Alexis and who she is as a person. But that's not how he presents himself to his best friends. But a person who just fetishizes a whole ethnic group, Japanese women being submissive, etc., that's not a good person. And that's a huge red flag. So definitely not the a-hole. And I am happy to see that Reddit also dubbed OP not the a-hole. Oh my god, this is just wild. Wow. Am I the a-hole for speaking Japanese to a guy who said he could? I, 22M, lived in Tokyo, Akasaka if we want to be exact, for the first 10 years of my life. My parents aren't from there. My dad is American and my mom is Irish, but I was born there and I didn't go to international school. I speak Japanese along with English. And before anyone asks if I believe that OP has a relation to Japan or if they are also a weeb for speaking Japanese, no, OP has a connection to Japan. They were born here, they lived here. This is a part of their life and a part of their lived experience and identity. So it's not the same as being a weeb who only knows Japan through anime. That is a completely different experience. When I was 10, we moved to the US. I liked it. Then, when I was 16, we moved to Ireland, and we've been here ever since. Now that the backstory is out of the way, I'll be quick. Recently, I started seeing this girl, 22F. We've made it all official. She's met my family, I've met her family. Congratulations, OP. Except one person, her brother, 19M. Until 3 days ago. I was at her place and her brother comes over to drop something off for their parents and I meet him. Instantly, he says, I heard you lived in Japan for a while. That's so cool. I've wanted to live there since forever. I actually speak Japanese. I instantly got really excited. I mean, the only other people I've known outside of Japan that can speak the language are my parents and one guy in the US. I completely understand why he would be so enthusiastic. Anyone who's a polyglot, they will understand what I'm trying to say, but one's relation with the language is very, very personal, and it usually differs from language to language. For example, in my case, I don't feel the same way I feel about English than I feel about Japanese or Spanish or Catalan. I feel different levels of intimacy, sort of, but they are all very unique. They are all very precious to me. Of course, it would make sense for him to be excited to speak a language that he isn't really able to speak. Yeah, he would, of course, he would be happy. I am guessing that the brother doesn't really speak Japanese, and that is the root of the problem. So I start speaking to him in it, just asking what interests him about the country, and he kind of gets awkward and then leaves. No! Oh, that is so embarrassing. I am embarrassed for the brother. He says I embarrassed him. I mean, no. Bro, you embarrassed yourself, and that he won't speak to me unless I apologize to him. Apologize for what? You were the one who lied. 申し訳ございません。言われたことを信じてしまった。You embarrassed yourself. What is this? What is this? My girlfriend and her parents don't think I did anything wrong. But I don't know. I feel really bad about it. Maybe I should have actually made sure he spoke the language, but I was just so excited. But that's why I'm here. I want an outside person's view. I felt bad for 3 days, so I want to ask, am I the a-hole? No. No a-hole, not at all. He lied. You believed him. He got caught. That's a he problem. He's embarrassed because he's embarrassing. Reddit agreed. Not the a-hole. So yes, this was an a-hole-less episode of Am I the A-hole Japan edition. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments down below if you agreed with what I said or if you disagreed, if you have any questions or if you have any stories that you would like to share, whether they be Reddit or your own. So let's see how it goes, and I will see you soon, hopefully. And please remember to like and to subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.